Greetings, Earthlings. Yes, it's me, Lynn Lee. I hope you enjoyed my last episode, or at least you got something out of it. It was quite vulnerable and scary to reveal my assets and how much debt I have, but I know that my finances will only get better from here on out. So the debt that I have right now will be gone in a matter of time. And as of today, January 27th, of recording this podcast, I am already in less debt than the previous episode, so that's a good update. Today, I want to talk about my name change. Yes, I am Lynn Lee, but I was not born Lynn Lee. I changed my name when I was a junior in high school, right after summer school. So going into my junior year of high school, only for, I want to say, maybe the first couple of weeks or maybe the first month was when I still had my former name. So it's been about 10 years since I changed my name legally. This September will be my 11th anniversary. Holy shit. I can't believe it's been over a decade since I've been Lynn Lee. However, since I am 26 years old, it's basically been about half my life that I've been Lynn. But before I was Lynn, let me tell you who I was. As some of you may know, I was born in Indonesia on a refugee camp island because my mom was born during the time of the Vietnam War and she had left Vietnam on her own to Indonesia. At the refugee camp, that is where she met my dad. I'm not completely sure what year she went to the camp and what year she met my dad and what year she left Indonesia. I believe it's quite a tender and sensitive topic when it comes to my biological dad, so I ask about him sparingly. I really don't know anything more about him beyond the fact that he's my dad and he did this, X, Y, and Z. And in the early years of my childhood, I really thought he wasn't alive, and now I do know more details about him, but they're more like rumors, as nothing is truly confirmed, and that information is information I am stern on not revealing, because that's his life and his business, and I'm here to talk about moi. Okay, let's get back on track. Growing up, I remember my mom asking me to change my name because my name was difficult to pronounce. Quote, quote, difficult to pronounce for anyone who is not Vietnamese, and it's a common last name for Vietnamese people. I've been teased for having a last name as a first name throughout the years, and hearing teachers butcher my name softly stung, making me feel a little bit weird and unsettled in my identity. But those are just like spread out moments that I can still remember from my childhood. As an immigrant, the pressure to assimilate was not only annoying, but frustrating and made me extremely insecure. For most of my early years, my mom was a single mom and she went to nail school for a little bit. We lived in a small one-bedroom apartment and we bought my school clothes from the flea market. I went to a lot of different elementary schools, but the dress code was always like a white shirt and navy blue bottoms. In high school, when I was trying to transfer to another high school, on my application, I put Natalie in parentheses on my application because I really liked that name, and it started with the letter N, and so did my former first name. I still remember when someone from the high school called me during the summer before the semester started. They asked, "Is this Natalie?" She was calling to ask which extracurricular activities I would be interested in and what sports I think I would like to join. It was a shift for sure because I had never been called that name before, and it was my first time venturing into the possibility of having a different name. When I got to the high school I transferred to, I don't know what happened, but I did not go by Natalie at that high school. I still went by my old name. In the second semester of my sophomore year, I transferred back to my first original high school because of my anxiety. I wanted to go back to what had felt familiar and safe and comforting to me, but boy, was I in for a surprise. That's a different story for another day. Growing up, I had a lot of Asian friends, so it's easy for them to pronounce my name, and sure, there were comments as to why I had a last name as a first name, but to say I was bullied for my name would be a blatant lie. My mom was the main person who was pushing me to change my name because I had my dad's last name and he wasn't ever in my life. So I started thinking about the names I wanted to be called by. Looking back, I am so glad I did not go through with any of these names because I just don't think it would fit me. I had thought of the name Crystal, the name Sky. For a moment, as I was filling out the name change application on the computer, I had the name Skylin as my first name. I was so close to changing my name to Skylin, which is a beautiful name. I really like it. However, I just don't think, at that time, I just don't know if it really fits my personality. Lynn is a really simple name and a common middle name for many women. I know, because a lot of women have told me that. They're like, hey, Lynn is my middle name. But ultimately, I chose Lynn because it sounds the most phonetically similar to my old name, which was Nguyen, Nguyen, one of the most common Vietnamese last names. I know I didn't reveal my former identity at first or at all because it wasn't that my former name is the main point of this podcast, but it's how much my life has changed since I changed my name. I also chose the name Lynn because it has 4 letters in it, and so do my little sisters. Their names start with L and have 4 letters as well. And when I changed my name, I parted ways with my dad's last name, which was Phan, Phan, and dropped my middle name, which is Tan, Thanh. It was the summer of 2010 that I had officially decided to change my name. Something had happened that summer, which I will definitely talk about in the next podcast episode. And the day after, if I remember correctly, I just simply told my mom I want to change my name. So the process began. The name change application is quite confusing and difficult to fill out as a 15-year-old who didn't really understand legal jargon and government terms all too well. As I toyed with the names Crystal and Skylin, I settled with the name Lynn Lee. By that point, my junior year of high school had already started and my mom had found someone who was able to help us fill out the paperwork of changing my name. We had to go to a small court session. Oh my god, at that time I was a teenager battling acne, so I was using this benzoyl peroxide gel that I would put all over my face at night to fight pimples and to prevent acne, and I think I had put some on my upper lip area, and for some reason, perhaps I put the gel on my actual lips as well because the day of my court appearance, my upper right lip had become swollen. Not my whole entire lip, just the upper right area. Okay, think Kris Jenner in that one episode where her lips got so big on that tropical vacation their family had gone on. My top lip on the right side was swollen and my mom's like, what the hell happened to your face? Anyway, we go to the courthouse and I was able to listen in on another case before it was my turn. And it was the first notable time I saw lawyers speak in their official, professional acumen. And I still remember how they can make one simple thought into the longest sentence. When it was my turn, all happened so fast I honestly barely remember it. I remember the judge asking me why I wanted to change my name, and I said it was because my biological dad was never in my life and I don't want to have his name anymore. I don't even remember the gender of the judge, but I do remember I was wearing this color block dress from Forever 21. After the judge approved it and stamped my papers, I went to a local newspaper company and my mom paid $200 to officially announce to the local area that I had changed my name. I never got a copy of that newspaper, by the way, and I think that newspaper company is no longer in business as of today. The next day, I went to the school administration office and showed them my paperwork that I had changed my name, and I think I had to show each of my teachers that I changed my name. And regular expected places to go. I went to the Social Security office and had to wait for my new card to come in. And it was strange to see my new name because I had gone by Win for so long and Lynn was so new to me. Even though they sound really similar, it still felt uncomfortable because it was just the beginning. And of course, I told all my friends, you guys can still call me Win. You don't have to call me Lynn. Okay, so in my senior year of high school, I transferred back to the high school I went to in my sophomore year and ended up graduating there. Listen, my anxiety in high school wasn't diagnosed yet. I didn't know what I was feeling and why I felt so weird, paranoid, worried, nervous, stressed, and sad all at once. When I was 16, I was running away from my problems and it just felt like the safest option. As I eventually and painfully learned, running away from my problems only brought me temporary sanity and only made the monsters of my mind bigger. As I graduated high school and started college, Lynn was the name I really became much more comfortable with and eventually grew into. Even my Instagram name, it would not have been possible if I did not change my name to Lynn. I can't imagine what I would come up with my former name, Nguyen Ton Phan. I find that porcelain suits me well, and I don't ever see myself changing that on my social media platforms. Of course, when I would return home to Sacramento during my college breaks, my friends would still call me Win, and it still felt weird if they called me Lynn, to be honest. Sometimes my little sisters text me and say Lynn. I get so offended, like, who the fuck is Lynn? It's such a silly dichotomy where I feel like I'm two people at the same time, yet one whole person simultaneously. And, as of today, a few friends and my little sisters still call me by Win. My mom calls me by my Chinese name, and the majority of my friends call me Lynn. Strangely, I sometimes feel like my friends who call me Win know me best since they knew me before I was Lynn. And, Lynn is someone who grew from what happened to Win, but Win was the girl who had to experience that trauma. Perhaps you already know what I'm talking about, and when I am ready, I will dive into that part of me and my past and explain my anxiety and how I'm working on overcoming it. Albeit slowly, dreadfully slowly, but surely. Okay, back to my name, Lynn. I believe there's a certain power that comes from owning your name. Lynn Lee flows nicely, and I'm not saying that my name is a unique name. Oh, no, not by any means. My name is quite common and it's spelled in various ways, and I have met other Lynn Lees. However, I do feel more confident in my identity as Lynn Lee as time passes by. It doesn't ever slip away what my former name was and what was happening when I was 15. Also, my boyfriend's name is Ton Nguyen, so I never forget my old name. I'm reminded of it every week. And in no way am I ashamed of my old name. I actually saw a post on LinkedIn of someone parting ways with his quote-quote American name and asked everyone on LinkedIn and his peers to refer to him by his birth name. I forgot what his name was, but when I saw his post, it really touched my heart because I know what it feels like to feel like you don't fit in because of your name, and I know what it is like to ponder if you'd be more successful if you had a name that is pronounceable. That is a big reason why my mom wanted me to change my name. And also back then, my mom kept asking me if I wanted to change my name to Diana because of Princess Diana. It's a really pretty name, but it never clicked or stuck with me. And, I am more than fine with being Lynn Lee. Anyways, back to the LinkedIn post. I think if my 15-year-old self saw that LinkedIn post, I would have really appreciated and perhaps I would contemplate changing my name for a little bit, but I know that I would have still changed my name. Recently I have been seeing more posts, especially from people of color, standing proudly in their name and refusing to shorten it to make it cute or easier to pronounce, and I am loving it. Sometimes I do wonder what would have happened if I never changed my name, and it's definitely an interesting daydream to prance around in. And I remember on Tumblr I had followed this girl who lived in the United States as well, and her first name was Nguyen too. And I remember her being super pretty and she had a boyfriend, so when I found her Tumblr and I learned her name, I felt relieved, normal, seen, and kind of less of an outcast, I guess. And even the word outcast I feel like is a bit dramatic, but hopefully you get the point. Anyway, I wonder how she's doing. I hope she's doing amazing. She was really pretty. Okay, allow me to bring it back to more recent times, a few seasons ago. I was going through a rough patch with my mom, and I joked that I would change my last name, and my boyfriend's sister joked that I should change my last name to Nguyen. Okay, do you guys know that Chris Brown song where he sings fuck around, give you my last name? I don't know if that's a song he does with Drake, but yeah, that's one of his lines. And it was playing one time, and my boyfriend's other sister asked if I'm gonna change my last name, and I was like, no. I worked too hard to become Lynn Lee. And it's true. Lynn Lee is a brand, and it's not just my name. I'm still working on myself both professionally and personally, and I strive to constantly evolve as I learn more about the world and myself. I find that I hold myself to high standards, and I think that's why I'm so hard on myself and feel guilt and shame twice as hard when things go awry. Well, There's another reason why I feel guilt much worse than perhaps the average person, but I will get into that in the next episode. So another thing I want to talk about in this podcast today, and there's a reason why I'm filming exactly on today, it's because I got my Ancestry DNA results today, this morning. Got the email notification, ding! And I went on and I checked in, and I really expected myself to be half Vietnamese, half Chinese. Maybe like 60-40 or like 50-50. Anyways, I'm completely blown away about this because my Ancestry DNA results show that I am, are you ready for it? 84% Vietnamese. So my mom has had this very like nationalistic, almost a bit racist notion that I am not Vietnamese at all and that I'm 100% Chinese and I should never ever claim that I'm Vietnamese. And I think it's just her harboring a grudge against my dad for leaving us. But I am kind of just not in shock, but I just realized that I've been telling everyone that, yeah, I'm half Vietnamese, half Chinese, and it's a blatant lie. And I apologize, everyone. I apologize for lying because I'm actually 8% Chinese. And the Ancestry DNA website showed that I am most likely from South China. So I've just always been a Southeast Asian babe, okay? And the other 8% of me is from kind of like this hodgepodge in between countries and borders of Laos and Myanmar. So I just am a bundle of Southeast Asian mix, but mostly Vietnamese. So I can't really technically say that I'm part Chinese, you guys. I'm really not half. I definitely am not half. I'm not even a third Chinese. I'm not even 25% Chinese or 10% girls. I'm 8% Chinese. So that was a little interesting part, and I feel like I have to restructure my identity and think about where have I told people that I'm half Chinese, half Vietnamese, because I need to edit that post and update it because I'm Vietnamese, you guys. I'm not 100% Vietnamese, but 84% is a good chunk of me. So, I was telling my boyfriend about this today, and he was like, this whole time your mom made you believe that you're Chinese. And culturally, I am. I speak Cantonese. We eat a lot of Chinese dishes. And of course, my mom makes pho, but it's not as good. I'm sorry, it's not as good as some restaurants, and it's definitely not as good as my boyfriend's families. Like, they can really make pho. So, yeah, this has been such an enlightening day just because now I want to take Vietnamese classes for sure. I want to definitely partake in my Vietnamese cooking skills, which are non-existent, by the way, but this is definitely motivating me and pushing me to connect more with my culture. And also, it's definitely reminding me to practice my Cantonese a little bit more too. So you know what, you guys? I think I'm gonna start watching Vietnamese and Cantonese dramas because I feel like that's such a good way to get into the language. But anyways, I'm getting way off track. And honestly, I think this is the shortest podcast episode ever. So I'm gonna end it here. Whew! I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast and understood a little bit why I changed my name and how being Lin Lee is so different and yet significant for me. Not only is my signature much more simple, but also becoming Lin Lee really signified a chance for me to start over. And I'm still working on becoming the best Lin Lee, you guys. I'm still young. I'm 26 years young, and I'm still learning. And I feel like that's just a great place to end this podcast. I hope you guys are having a good week. And as always, thank you for listening. Peace out, Girl Scout.